Hello guys, and welcome back to Joe's Ventures, and today we'll be covering Prehistoric Kingdom's devlog the devlog 30 for June of 2020. So this one was a little bit late because the editor was sick, but I'm really excited to get stuck into this one. We've got some really interesting stuff coming in this one. I'm really excited to show you guys. So okay, let's get going. Welcome to June's development update. Last month was great for the dev team, showing an increase in quality of all aspects of development. There's simply too much to cover, so let's dive right into the content coverage of June. So we have the state of development progress. The team's been steady, focusing on the task and chipping away at the project as per usual. Mao's been making a lot of headway, tackling trouble spots of performance, isolating issues and finding ways to optimize the overhead behind it. As a whole, frame rate has seen to serious improvements since PAX, and will continue to make the game as performant as possible, which is very important with a game like this. We have a lot going on, so we can have a look at the development progress. So we can see the animal locomotion. We're seeing a lot of that today. Water painting's been getting some updates and such. That's really awesome to see. You can see a little teaser of what's to come. Don't worry, we'll be very excited to see what's coming. The foot to terrain, foliage, humans, all that good stuff. Okay, we got programming now. Animal locomotion. Construction was well underway to enhance the animal locomotion system in June, using the mighty Tyrannosaurus as its base. We're shifting towards a system that's more reliant on bespoke animation for transitions rather than allowing the engine to fill the gaps, giving us direct control of how the animal begins and stops moving. The creatures can have great assets, but if the locomotion isn't up to standard, it all falls apart. Below is a short look at the animator in action, highlighting how the T-Rex transitions from various movement states, and this is a work in progress, so just make sure it's top quality. We'll pause it. So, if you play something like Jurassic World Evolution, often the movement can be kind of awkward. They kind of walk, stand, turn. This is meant to make it look a little more fluid and realistic, so we'll have a look at it. See, that just makes it feel a lot more fluid and realistic rather than something like Jurassic World Evolution. It's really awesome to see everything now finally coming together in game. I gotta say, the game does look beautiful in that little shot there. I really love the green grass and the audio. You could hear the kookaburra in the background. That's pretty awesome. So, what's the benefit of doing things this way? The main bonus is to eliminate the automatic jank that occurs when an animal transitions between a state of movement and its idle position. Instead of magically sliding between the pose, they'll kick off the ground and will take the first big step in their walk cycle. It looks nice. This approach does have an increase in animation work though, but with the added help of Siaka, we really want to get these animals looking as good as they can, and the results so far are very promising. We continue to polish it up as best we can and show off some of the new critters in the process. So that's really cool to see. We're going to see a lot more animal stuff. Fence junctions. Intersections are tricky. At the point where two objects meet in 3D space may result in a nasty Z fighting or excessive clipping. A definite issue that can crop up is two fence lines converge at a central point. We don't want to pick a dominant pole to show over the other, so what's the solution? Create a junction, of course. So you can see this junction here. Temporary chain link shader. It's a bit broken at the moment. So this obviously the chain link will look better, but this just shows instead of like having some weird jank there, it's really showing that they're going to make a junction so it looks a little bit more nicer. The junction will automatically generate between two different fence types or on either side of the added objects like gates, attractions, at the point intersections. So it just makes it look a little bit nicer. And now we've got water painting. Seth prepared a technical deep dive presentation showcasing some of the impressive complexities and considerations that go into making an advanced system like water painting. With features themselves being increasingly polished by the day, soon enough they'll just be tidying up edges to make the water pretty. So here we are. Let me make sure it's all nice quality. There we are. Well, that's pretty cool. So you can see water brush is finally getting on the way. God, it's so clean. I really enjoy that. Oh wow, that's awesome. One area we're super pleased with was the ability to edit terrain around and inside bodies of water. As the water's tool depth is chosen via an intensity slider, UI will be updated soon, being able to manually reshape the terrain both underwater and near it adds a lot of power of creativity and room for experimentation. So that's really, really, really cool. So now we'll be finally able to really get into paint rivers, lakes, swamps. That'll be really cool to see. And it's so fluid too. I really like how fluid it is. It's really awesome to finally see that kind of system come into the game. And now we've got art. Okay, environment. The grassland biome offers a lot of choice in its versatility, including famous foliage such as the acacia, baobab, and elephant grass. We've had a lot of fun mixing and matching the selection of available plant life to create new environments, much like the previous two biomes. So we can see the baobab trees, the acacia trees, elephant grass there, all the different famous kind of African trees. Looks really nice. I really like this baobab. God, that looks really nice. That looks straight out of Africa. And now we've got structures. As part of the park asset reworking, Nathan's taken the previous design of our animal nursery and elevated it to new heights, literally. A cornerstone piece of infrastructure for every player, this building's being updated with a more grounded art design with an attempt to find a balance between a lovely genetics facility and a giant warehouse for mega lizards. I really like how that came out. It looks like a giant version of the hatchery of obviously Jurassic World Evolution and JPOG. But yeah, it's been a bit more modernized and feels a little bit more realistic. Adding new components like various staff areas to increase visual interest, a loading bay inspired by an older iteration was installed onto this structure's extremity. Although deployment works at the same time, it always has drag and drop the creature to park. The first animal currently bred in the nursery will show up standing inside the area once it's ready to be placed, offering a chance to see the size of the specimen ahead of you. So if you've got a big Argentinosaurus, you get a good look at it before you put it in. So I think that's kind of a cool little thing. It's not going to be like Jurassic World Evolution where you have a gate and the animal walk out into the enclosure. It'll be you kind of have it sitting in there, standing in the like loading bay, so to speak, just so you can get an idea of okay, this thing's pretty big. I need to put this in a enclosure this big. It kind of gives you an idea to judge before kind of put it down. Because sometimes if you just put an animal in, then you realize, oh wow, that's huge, or something like that, for example. Okay, switching up to a slightly tastier subject. Last month we laid out the design plans for feeding as a whole, determining how the process of food production, delivery, and consumption will work. As a result, the ground feeders were all homogenized in order to account for these plans and work better with ontogeny to prevent excessive clipping and animation that simply wouldn't work across multiple designs. So we have the ground feeders. We can see here we've got the fish, meat, insects, and we've got a couple versions, I think, for... I wonder if that'll be like grass. Well, that's fruit, I think. Fruit and just normal plants, like herbivore. So we can see the different textures here. There's like a wooden one. And I'm not sure what that is, like a sandstone or something. Just a rock one, metal, and like a water one, maybe. That's quite cool, like a little water one. And we can see the like Planet Zoo. It's very similar to Planet Zoo in this aspect. You can see there's low grade, medium grade, high grade. So you can make sure your animals get the healthiest food, but it'll be a little bit more expensive. It's important to understand that the updates make the assets allow for a smarter workflow, better performance, and higher quality outcome due to everything we've learned along the way. One bit of feedback we've encountered from our previous gameplay showcases was the visitor and amenities simply don't fit the world that we're trying to build, and we agree. We've got a whole bunch of snazzy and far more grounded structures headed your way very soon, thanks to this streamlined workflow. So I think that's a really cool choice to go with rather than the older designs. You kind of want to make it feel like it's realistic. This is meant to be not like Jurassic Park. It doesn't have that kind of theme. It's supposed to be like a realistic zoo, but with dinosaurs. Like taking inspiration from modern zoos is obviously the best place, like San Diego, Auckland Zoo, Chester Zoo, like all those zoos around the world are probably very good influences for this game. And also Planet Zoo is obviously going to be a good way of checking out how this plays. So I'm really excited to see what kind of inspiration they take from modern zoos, because there's a lot of design choices there that could really be interesting for the game. So now we've got animation. Okay, so Ankylosaurus was a defensive powerhouse of the Cretaceous. Covered in hard bony deposits known as osteoderms, this walking tank can produce forces strong enough to break the limbs of the most misfortunate predators. Did they deserve it? Probably. Well, he's only got to survive. It's kill or be killed, isn't it? So we can see there's a really nice walk cycle. I really like how he's plodding along. I really love this new Ankylosaurus, honestly. I really love the osteoderms and the texture of it. It feels real nice. Real big boy. He's slowly plodding along, loving life. You see the run cycle. I honestly think the run cycle might be a little bit too slow, because you think, oh, slow and plodding. I kind of imagined, obviously this is based on kind of just assumptions, but I kind of imagine they would be moving in a similar speed to a hippo. And hippos are pretty fast. If you know, hippos are the deadliest animals in Africa pretty much, because they're aggressive and they can actually move pretty fast. And they're kind of in a similar weight range, not quite as heavy as a Ankylosaurus, but I imagine they can move at that sort of speed if they needed to. Maybe it'd be a little bit sped up sometime, but I think that'd be a really good reference for, since it's got a similar body shape, since it's like quite low to the ground, shorter legs, kind of similar shape to Ankylosaurus. That'd be a great reference. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this came out. And next we go into one of my top dinosaurs. We got gazing atop the highest of Jurassic trees. Brachiosaurus is a famous sauropod beloved worldwide for its graceful silhouette and enormous size. It was originally speculated to have frequented large bodies of water in order to support its weight, a concept that has since long been abandoned thanks to modern science. So this is a nice one here. We can see the grace and size of this animal. I really love this plodding walk. Really gives you a sense of the animal's scale. You can really feel the weight of it, and you can even see little jiggles. We'll get into that later. I really love how this came out. I really love the PK Brachiosaurus. It looks super nice. You can just sit and watch this all day. I can't wait to see this in game. And we have the run cycle. So here, I'm really glad they didn't just go with like a walk, because even the largest animals today, like elephants, they still kind of have like a fast walk, and they can move at still pretty reasonable speeds. So I can imagine that even large sauropods probably had some sort of like fast walk, not like galloping, because like elephants can't gallop, but I imagine they'd have like some fast walks if they need to move faster. So it's really cool that they've added that in here. I'd probably make it looks good, maybe a wee bit faster, but I think that looks quite nice. I'm really happy with how this looks, and I'm really happy that they really gifted it the size and scale. I love the tail swaying back and forth, and yeah, that looks real good. I'm really happy with the sauropod animations in this game, because those are so hard to get right, because you need to make sure they're not going so slow that they look stupid, but not so fast that they don't look heavy. So I think PK has really gotten that balance down pat, so I'm really happy with that. And we can see that. One area of motion we've been working on to improve is secondary animations for the bigger animals, enhancing our rigs to utilize a more detailed process for better results. Take a look at our in-game Brachiosaurus walk test below, showing the added jiggle bones used to simulate areas that are high fat and muscle. You can see the similar practices on the Ankylosaurus and Tyrannosaurus early in the post, accentuating their thighs, sides, and dewlaps if present. So we can see here, this is what they kind of added a few more extra bones, so you get the jiggle, like sometimes on the side, or the dewlaps, or just to help you give you the sense of weight of these animals. So let's make sure it's at 1080. Yep. So we can see the absolute awe and size of these lads. Oh, no. What we want to do is wait till that's 1060. That's not quite 1060 yet, for whatever reason. That's alright, whatever, we'll go with it. Honestly, I think we got to watch that again just to see the quality, because then it got up to... Look at that. I love it so much. I love the sounds too, really gives those deep grumbles. So you can see when it was walking, you can see on the sides of the animal and on the neck, you can see the jiggles of kind of like the fat and the skin, loose skin that the animal walks. It really helps give it a nice sense of weight. And this just makes me so excited for like a ranger mode or a first person mode in Prehistoric Kingdom. So you can just sit and look up at these giant sauropods or look at what you've made from a person's perspective. That's what I'm really, really, really excited to see. So you can just look and like, because oftentimes it's really hard to get a sense of scale of these animals until you have like a person's view and then you look up and see them, because these animals are enormous, of course. So I'm really excited to see that. I'm just like gushing over the sauropods because I love sauropods. You know what, let's watch that again. I'm sorry, but I just love it too much. Look at that wonderful Brachiosaurus. You can see on the neck there, on the sides. See, come on. How can you not love that? That's incredible. I love it so much. Okay, so now we've got interface. As part of the UI streamlining, we wanted to show off how the genetic labs look, complete with significantly better performance and new statistics management to reflect some of our changes detailed below. You'll notice that the menu is now full screen and consists of the rest of the UI, future-proofing inclusions like a tab-based navigation system where diseases or other animal-related mechanics are added. So we'll have a look at that. 1080-60. So this shows the new genetics lab menu, the new UI. So you can see the different species here, including some mystery ones. See this device? It gives you I'll pause that here. You can see it gives you a nice overview, size, closure, covering, biomes it likes. Gives you a really nice little like underview of what you need for the animal. Gives you a good look at the skins and the size. Cool when you add like a Dinopedia or something. So that's quite nice. And even has a little bit of different needs for different alt species, so that's pretty cool. Bane. So you can see the Tarbosaurus there. I really like that Tarbosaurus. Gives you a look at the skins. And there's sex changes, male and female. Isn't that pretty cool? So you see a big new update to the UI. And now we've got changes, temperatures, and biomes. What was previously all grouped into climates, we have now split into temperature and biome to make it easier, to make each system more distinguishable. Different species have a unique temperature range and can even have multiple plant biomes assigned to them for added diversity, making alt species such as Smilodon fatalis feel far more special. So instead of having animals that like have a biome and temperature, so you can have an animal that likes a certain temperature, and then you can have it that likes certain plants. So you can have plants from those areas of those biomes in with, as long as it's the same sort of temperature range with the animal. So that I think that works out pretty well. It really gives you a couple new things to really open up creativity a bit more while still having the animals have needs. So we are the biomes. So we've got desert, scrubland, grassland, tropical, a new one by the looks of it, wetland, coastal, temperate, and boreal. So boreal is no home to both taiga and tundra vegetation, so that's kind of been lumped. which I think is a good idea because the tundra doesn't have that many trees. They're kind of very similar in general aspects. Similar, it's kind of just temperature and water that makes the difference because tundra doesn't have quite as much rainfall and such. So I think that works better in the long term. So by assigning not fossil foliage biomes to the creatures, we're able to give players a unique jumping off point to start designing around challenge mode. Some species might be specialized in wanting a single biome, where the others might have a handful of preferences that you can freely pick from. So some might be a bit more general. They'll be like, okay, I like this, this, and this. But some might be like, nah, I only like this kind of biome, which is cool. It really gives a little bit more distinction to each animal. In terms of game design, it feels inauthentic to not nudge the player's hands slightly towards an aesthetic or goal catered towards the animal, the designing, and for challenge mode. Using a handful of plants from disliked biomes won't send the animals crazy, but sandboxes always available for habitat needs aren't quite the thing. So this is more for challenge mode, and you're going to make the animals happy. And then sandbox is there to just do what you want. Okay, we got change social requirements. Okay, so the social group mechanics have been made more fluid, expanding the criteria to allow for new, more dynamic combinations. Some species may have closed group, and others have no maximal value at all. Select species have an added condition for population ratios, however, making mixed gender habitats a bit trickier to care of. So may only group up in breeding pairs, others might have more harem type system being led by a dominant male or female. Keeping each separate will avoid the population ratios altogether. Each sex separate, I mean. Okay, so we can see breeding pair. So something like a male and female breeding pair. A limited group that can be up to 7. Here it looks like you have like 7 females, 1 male, for example. It kind of works so like something similar to Planet Zoo. Have different social structures for each sex. So you can have like you can maybe have a male and a bunch of females, and maybe like African wild dogs, you can have a bunch of males and only a few females. It just depends on the social structure of the species. So I think this works quite well on making it more dynamic. And you can have an open group, so that means you can have as many as you like, as long as they're all happy, which is pretty cool. So I think that works really well and kind of create the animals more complicated. So you can maybe have to worry. Let's say mammoths. You have to worry about having male mammoths. You have to make bachelor herds. And then you can have a herd of female mammoths with their calves. So it really helps make it a little bit more realistic and dynamic. So that's pretty cool. So then, if an animal is part of a closed group, they'll begin to form a herd or pack. If an existing group has filled up, they remain lonely creatures will split off and create a new one. As long as the exhibit isn't only crowded, new groups will be made freely. Just make sure the ratios aren't imbalanced. So you can have multiple groups in one enclosure, just as long as they have their social structures. So you can have like 2 or 3 herds of X animal in one habitat, just as long as their ratios are met. So that's pretty cool. So I'm really happy with the system. So I'll be able to make really cool herds. Manage a little bit more realistic. I really like these social requirement changes. It's okay, we got the animal showcase. We got 1 animal today. Amongst her time working on an unannounced replacement species for less interesting parts of her roster, don't worry, they're all due for a facelift. Cindy updated Brachiosaurus with a fresh sculpt based on a more primitive and reptilian aesthetic. Liz created 2 new designs to take the mantle of the old while reworking the original to fit better within our style. So we can see the new skins here. I really like this new skin here. It reminds me of a pilot whale. I don't know why, but it does. I really like the orange here too. To see the male here's got a little brighter orange. Female's a little duller. And this is a really nice skin here. I like this one. Kind of similar to Leatherhide, but I really like Leatherhide, so that's not a problem for me. I'm really happy with how this one came out. And then we have the original sandstone, I think it is. I'm pretty sure it's sandstone. But here we've got an older skin that has been reworked to fit, and you can see the comparison. Plagiosaurus looks so ugly. He was a god, though. He is god, so I can't really say that. But now he's just been made into a new god. And we can finally see this wonderful animal getting remade. There's going to be a couple new remakes that get facelift over time. So next few devlogs, you might see 1 or 2 animals getting a facelift, which is pretty cool. And you can find more of Cindy's work on ArtStation. And then we've got the community spotlight. So here we've got Manuel Argo 2702. So here he's been doing some like pencil sketches, really nice pencil sketches of some of the carnivores. You can see the Tarbosaurus, Allosaurus, Tyrannus, and Acrocanthosaurus. All look pretty nice. He did a pretty good job with those. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. I've made a Minecraft Torvosaurus based on the Prehistoric Kingdom skin, which is also pretty cool. And we've got Hex, who made a really nice Irish elk skin, or Megaloceros skin. Then I think that looks quite nice with the colors, a little white rump and a white neck. Looks pretty cool. So thank you for reading the June devlog. Thank you for everyone who waited patiently for this update to arrive. We deeply appreciative of your support. We'll be working on some exciting new elements in July, and the team simply can't wait to get this game into your hands as quickly as possible, and I'm excited to get my hands on it too. Keep an eye on our social medias for any announcements or new information. Until next time, the PK team. So yeah, this was a very nice devlog. I'm really excited to see finally more implementation of different updates of different mechanics to make it work better. The game's kind of just been kind of like not redesigned, but like just reimagined, just to make it a little bit more interesting. Because obviously with a game that's been made as long as this, you kind of sometimes want to reimagine it and see some things that work better and such. So that's really cool to see. So I'm really excited to be seeing more implementation of the animals and more behaviors and more mechanics, because that's really the most important thing in this game. So that's really, really, really cool to see. So yeah, I really hope you guys have enjoyed this little video, and I really hope you guys like and subscribe as usual, and hopefully guys, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.